The college football committee shocked the world when they announced the 4 playoff teams.
But here's the thing, the 7 and 8 seeds are now your 3 and 4 seeds.
In today's video, we react to undefeated FSU being left out of the playoff. To your first point, if Jordan Travis is that big of a factor, he should be your Heisman winner.
FSU is not in the top 4. And this is a weird thing because this is what happened. The number 1 seed is now completely out in Georgia. So they're not in now after the loss to Bama. It was a close game though. We thought Georgia was going to be a lock at a 3 or a 4 spot, even if it was a loss.
Yeah.
Like a close game loss. Obviously Oregon falls out completely. They're there. Ohio State was outdone after the Michigan loss. But here's the thing. The 7 and 8 seeds are now your 3 and 4 seeds, which is Texas and Alabama. And FSU being undefeated are no longer there. And this is my statement of it, and I'll let you talk about it in a second. It's obviously a committee that decides this, and they don't decide it based on who's undefeated, who's not. The FSU is the first Power 5 team undefeated team not to make the top 4. Right? ACC is considered the top Power 5, along with the Pac-12, the Big 12 or 10,
Big 10,
SEC, and there's one more. Right? Like when the Bearcats Cincinnati Bearcats were undefeated all those years, they didn't make it and they finally made it. They got their ass kicked by Bama. So they're using that picture as well. They're looking at TCU getting their ass kicked in the final though.
That's a different story, in my opinion.
Against Georgia, but they did beat a powerhouse in Michigan last year. So if that's the statement you're going for, it's not. I really, really think Jordan Travis not being their QB, and he tweeted this saying like, I wish if I were to break my leg, it happened earlier in the year, to prove that it wasn't just on the QB. Now, maybe if we had a time machine and you wished for that, I don't believe that would have been the case. I think Jordan Travis had a big factor in it. And plus this game, because I was watching this game, and they were playing their 3rd string QB. It was boring. There was like a punt fest in the first half, and obviously the defenses have to show out. But that being said, I still think FSU needs to be in here. I get it from a viewing factor. You don't want them in because clearly, the viewing factor of this final wasn't the greatest. And if they were going to be the 3rd seed or even the 4th seed, I think they would have a better matchup against Washington, but not. I think Michigan will kick their ass.
Hey, this defense is still real.
But
right?
At the same time, I disagree with it. I was arguing with you. Let's see how are they going to announce the 4th one, because I thought, okay, FSU should be a lock. So how are they going to announce 4? Because Georgia obviously lost. I guess clearly they value the title win more, so that's why Georgia and Ohio State were out. And then Texas beat Bama. But if they had picked Bama, Texas had an argument because Texas looked good all year. That's why they probably went Texas 3 and Bama 4, not having an ACC representative, because I think Big 10 was Michigan, Pac-12 with Washington, and they took the 2 SEC teams. I do disagree with it. I do think that FSU, I understand it might not be a factor, but I think the Jordan Travis injury obviously is the big factor of why they did not put it. If this QB went off yesterday, this 3rd stringer, or the backup, if he were to play, they would have put FSU in. I really do believe Jordan Travis is the big reason why FSU is not in the top 4. And do I disagree with it? Yes. Do I get why they didn't put him on there? Yes. But I still think you can't rob the rest of the team an opportunity to potentially do what TCU did last year to Michigan because of a QB injury. To your point, which you're going to get to in a second, you said it off camera, and I saw comments on a tweet when they announced the top 4 that if that was the logic, then if that's the logic of not having Jordan Travis, the reason why he's not going to be in it, he should win the Heisman.
Yes, 100%.
So I will let you get your pissed off rant out.
Yeah. First of all, to your first point, if Jordan Travis is that big of a factor, he should be your Heisman winner, right? If that's the main reason.
Because right now it's Jaden Daniels or Bo Nix.
Yeah. So the way that you've selected the Final 4 shows that Jordan Travis.
But we don't know that's how you selected it. But we're assuming.
I know, but I'm assuming if that's the way you did, Jordan Travis is MVP. Point 1, point 2. Yes, you have an easy schedule, and don't get me wrong. Like you do want to see. Like I understand. Like you want the best teams against the best, right? And like a lot of on paper decisions are going to be made. Like Alabama looks better on paper, Texas looks better on paper, right? And they look throughout their season, but it's really hard to go perfect, no matter where you're playing.
Yeah.
Right. Like it's very difficult, and the difference between this one and the Cincinnati one is that these guys still battled without their starting quarterback, their star quarterback, who's probably gonna be in the NFL draft, and dug out 3 wins and got a title win out of it. Stayed undefeated, right? Because we knew once they had 1 loss, they're done. But they didn't lose.
Yeah, because I was listening to Paul Feinbaum, and he was saying his point is like no one in the ACC has like more than like 2 and less losses or something, right? At the end of the day, I think that's as much as I like listening to Paul Feinbaum, and I think he makes good points, but I think like this case, I get it. If you're gonna pick the 4 best teams, Georgia has to be part of it. Then I think they're the 4th best. There are the 4 best teams, right? But and because I think they're better than UW, unfortunately. But you're not gonna like. So if that was the case, why is UW not in there? Because clearly it's a QB factor, in my opinion. But he was saying like, well, Clemson has 4 losses. Well, Clemson was once upon a time a powerhouse. I understand they're not anymore. And they haven't had that QB since Trevor Lawrence, and before that Deshaun Watson, and then guys like D-Hop playing for them beforehand, right? Heck, one of their D-men it was with the BC Lions. So, yeah. But I do disagree with that because you still got to win. Like that was a close game if I wasn't mistaken with FSU Clemson earlier in the year. But yeah, I don't get it. But yeah, anyways, continue.
And then the other point is like what I'm trying to say is, if you're trying to argue the fact that FSU barely won games, I'm gonna go back to that.
Well, not barely won games. They won the games.
Like it was close game.
Oh yeah. Should have been.
I'm gonna point out the Alabama Auburn game.
Yeah, you could argue the UW games compared to, I guess they have
UW a lock.
No, but I'm saying their games were close too. But I think they had closer games than FSU had closer games, and they were both undefeated and won the title. That's my point.
Yeah, so you're.
I get it that UW had a harder conference, so which I think
UW's conference was hard,
and
right.
Michael Penix is a Heisman candidate, I guess,
as well.
But
yeah, I mean, if you're looking at viewership wise, I could see why they did it, but like these guys battled so hard all year with their quarterback going down. This defense has been
pretty good,
solid all year, and it just feels like what more could they have done? That's what I'm trying to ask you. Yeah. Right? Like that's the question that obviously next year shouldn't be into question because it's going to go to 12 team. But like what more could they have done?
Yeah.
Like what like I genuinely don't know what more they could have done.
They definitely went over money and viewership for sure.
Yeah, that's 100% the fact there because they went undefeated. They dug out 3 more wins with their quarterback being down and remained undefeated, winning a title.
You saw the JJ Watt tweet. You want to elaborate on that part?
Oh yeah, please. I would have loved to.
It's not happening. We know that.
I know, but like an emergency 6-team playoff would have been perfect because obviously 1 and 2 are Washington and Oregon.
This was the year to get 12. This was the year to get 12.
Number 1 and 2 was Michigan and Washington. Give their byes, but Alabama, Texas, Georgia, and FSU all had the conversation. Yeah,
because I don't think anyone else. Unfortunately, Oregon was out of the picture.
They were out. The 2 losses.
As close as the game was, it sucks because Bo Nix.
You didn't win the big ones.
Yeah,
at the end of the day,
it happens unlucky because Bo Nix 5 years later, when it becomes 12 team, might not be able to do it. I don't think he's eligible to come back.
Same thing with Ohio State. They lost the big one, so I'm not including them either. But like,
you're
telling me those 4 teams, yeah, that would have been perfect. Emergency 6-team playoff would have been the perfect solution, but obviously, yeah, that's not gonna happen.
We'll probably clip this. He should probably get this ready to come out. But no, the couple of things before we end up the college football thing. Again, 3 things happen in this. An undefeated Power 5 champ is left out. They went 13-0 FSU. They beat LSU and Florida, which were big. I know Florida wasn't the greatest this year, but still, because we took their QB. The Seminoles became the first. Yeah, they became the first team, like I mentioned. The next thing, teams outside the top 6 pretty much the whole year made the semis, right? So which was obviously, again, it doesn't help that Oregon lost their second game to the same team, but Ohio State technically has an argument if they wanted to because they only lost to the best team in their thing. But a team 7 and 8 respectively are now 3 and 4, which was Texas and Bama. Quinn Ewers might not even be going to the draft next year, so the Texas could be a wagon next year. We'll see what happens with Arch. And the last thing is the number 1 team was completely dropped out for pretty much the whole year, which was Georgia.
That's weird, right? Like, I don't know. FSU was 4.
This is where JJ Watt's point makes the most sense right here. All 3 things that I just said.
Yeah, like FSU was the 4 seed The whole entire, they didn't drop out once.
Yeah.
Right? And once they got in, they were in. When they're in those AP poll rankings and obviously the actual college rankings, they weren't out of the top 4. They were in the whole time. So like, after winning a game, after winning a title, what's the difference?
Yeah.
Like what reason did they give you to drop them out after winning? They didn't lose.